And you have an example of that here from what he's talking about. Somebody who's a joker on the outside, but he's telling something else inside. I told you before, what's the joker's job? What's the comedian's job? To tell the truth. Tell the truth. And sometimes they'll tell the truth, and we won't believe that they're telling the truth. And I mean, certainly at least they're telling the truth to the best of their ability, whatever that looks like. And so here the clown comes out, and that's the joker, that's the comedian, and the clown's telling the truth, and yet nobody believes him. They think it's just part of the show. Sometimes this is what happens when you're the comedian. There'll be people, like I've talked about, like the things that we look at here. There's a superficial level at which we mean something, and if this is the level that you grasp, that's fine. In other words, if you just look at the words, like for example, if you're taking this as just a story and you're going to analyze whether or not you think this story actually happened, okay, that's a very superficial way of saying it. That means it's really on the surface. But of course, when you start to understand that the clown represents something deeper, and then you understand that the audience represents something deeper than just this, imaginary thing on the screen, and then you understand that that actually tells some deep truth about humanity. Well, these are the deeper levels that we should be aiming for. If when we talk about these things, we write about these things, this is as far as you go, that's fine, I guess, I suppose. This is as far as most people will kind of go in life, because they'll say things like, oh, this is too much work. And yeah, it is too much work if you're not used to doing it. But just understand kind of like where that kind of ends up in life. And I'm not saying like you're never going to get anywhere in life if you can't understand that the clown represents something else. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that the deep truths of life are never found on the superficial surface. They're always found deeper down here. And these are the things that will tell you something about yourself, which is important, but it's also something that tells you about your place among humanity. And I mean, there's almost nothing that's more important than to figure out where you fit into all of it. But I also understand that people will see it and go, it's just, so what if I write like a page in like most of a half? How much credit do I get? That's happening up here, There's something much deeper going on there, though. Just like there's something deeper that's going on inside of all of us. So we should aim for these things down here. So the clown, of course, is designed to tell us the truth about something, to make us laugh in the process. Because if you laugh, you're disarmed. It's just kind of like, think about this. If someone comes to you and says to you, listen, what I'm about to tell you, it's just my opinion. Why are they beginning by telling you, it's just my opinion?
They're going to offend you.
They're going to offend you? Okay, so what's the point of saying that, though?
To basically cover up, to soften the blow of their opinion, which is going to maybe affect you.
Yeah. It's designed to soften the blow in some way. It's designed specifically to kind of tell you, hey, just take it or leave it, take it for what you want. If a person comes to you and says, here's the truth, and here's what you have to believe, are you going to be open to hearing it? No. But if a person comes to you and says, hey, this is just my opinion, they're not forcing it to you, and if you're not being forced to eat broccoli, you're going to grow up and you'll probably like broccoli someday. If you're a little kid and you're being forced to eat broccoli every day, you're going to hate broccoli. If someone comes to you and forces an opinion on you, you're not going to want to hear it. If someone says to you, well, listen, just take it for what you want, it's just my opinion, you may not adopt it immediately, but over time it might be something that sticks with you and you can think about. If a joke is funny, and the joke is going to stay with you probably for a while. But think about some jokes that you've heard before and you still tell those same jokes a couple years later. Or you ever watch like a comedian and then you're trying to tell somebody about the comedian, and so you're trying to like relive out, to like re-perform their joke in some way. And you may at some point kind of realize, well, I'm not as funny as, whoever, fill in the blank, Dave Chappelle. So then you'll kind of be, you just have to see him do it. You have to hear it. You have to hear it from them. But the idea is that that routine is still stuck in your head, and that means that what they said is still staying with you. And so that's because it's something that you wanted to hear, something that you sought out. And so if you can soften things with comments. Like I tell people, if you want to tell the truth, go for it. If you make people laugh, then you'll be a comedian. You'll make millions of dollars. If you tell people the truth and you offend them, then you're a philosopher, and you'll probably be executed like Socrates, or ignored. So it's your choice: death or fame and riches. Hard call, hard choice, I guess. But yeah, I understand that when he's talking here, it's like it wasn't just in this class. I think it was in my 5th grade class also. They started having the same conversation when I put the quote up there last time that we started having in here last time. Well, how come the crowd doesn't see the fire? Well, how come they don't hear the? How come they don't see the smoke? Why can't they? Yeah, but it's an important kind of conversation. Even though we're kind of joking about that, you'll think about like why is it that those kinds of things pop into our heads? And the truth is that because when you start asking questions like that, it's because you're betraying that you understand that it's not just a superficial thing. You understand that there's something deeper to it. You're trying to pull the deepness up into the superficial because we don't want to deal with the superficial stuff. Same reason that when people are talking to us, and we know that they have wisdom, we know that they have learning, we know they have a bunch of stuff, and yet we tune them out, and we'll try to turn our attention to something simpler because we don't want to deal with those deep truths. It's just like if you're a little kid and you've been traumatized, as we've been reading, and then as you grow older, when the source of that trauma is reintroduced into your life, we kind of turn our attention away from it because we don't want to deal with the deeper thing that's going on in life because we understand that it says something about us. Similarly, I guess in a more extreme way, I see these videos of like street assaults. Grace, my old company, we used to do like self-defense stuff. So long story short, there's this great, I shouldn't say great video, that's a messed up way of saying it, but an interesting video anyway. And they're in London. It's a man and a woman. They're walking down the street, and they get surrounded by these 5 guys. And they kind of corral them up near a wall. And the guy, he's actually a taller guy. He's with his girlfriend. She's hyper alert about what's going on. The guy looks up, he sees it, and they're getting surrounded, and guess what he does? He starts looking at his cell phone. Does he realize that there's danger?
No.
Yes, he does. He realizes that there's extreme danger. And his mind is shutting down, and he's trying to go to a safer place, which is, let me just ignore the danger. Let me just ignore, and he's just hoping it's going to go away. She's not like that. She's aware of what's going on. So if someone comes over and one of the guys comes over and just straight up punches her in the face, and he looks up and he turns to the side so he can't see it, and he's on his phone. He's trying really hard to pull that deeper thing up into the superficial. He's trying really hard to ignore this obvious thing because he understands that what's happening here is a deep problem, and his response to it is a deep expression of his psychology. You know, if that person if they had just punched her and walked away, I would bet $100 that the guy probably would have pretended like he never saw any of it, and would have been like, "Are you okay? Wait, what happened?" And he would have been like, "Oh, really? Where are they?" You know. But then they continued the assault, and then they smacked his phone away. And they snatched his phone away, all of a sudden his hands go up like, "Oh my God, please don't hurt us." You know, his girlfriend had already taken like 2 or 3 punches in the head at this point. And it's because he's trying really hard to ignore that. So this isn't an unusual response from a lot of us, that something dangerous is going to happen, and we're going to try to pretend like we don't hear it, we don't see it. I mean, you could take it on an almost silly way. Think about school. I'm sure things will be fine. I'm sure things will be fine. Okay. You can look at it in our lives. I'm sure things will turn out fine. Yeah. Everything is not okay. Things will not turn out to be just fine. All is not well. I don't want to hear that negativity. Let me get on my phone and go find something funny, something entertaining. And then we pour ourselves at it. Now, that doesn't mean that we need to live our whole lives, you know, in those deeper levels that everything is messed up. And I know that there are people who will encourage you to live in this place because they want you to be angry. They want you to be, in their minds, they'll refer to it as awake or woke. They want you to be angry and bitter and hostile and ready to rage against everything. Not to rage against them, you understand. Not to question them, you understand. Because you probably intuitively understand that there's a deeper level down here where you understand what it is that they're trying to get you to do. They want you to become little activists and to be angry and to follow their programming. Not to ever question them. Probably intuitively you might understand, well, hold on a second, you want me to question everything, but not to question you. I wonder what else is going on down there. And then, of course, the whole program will fall apart when you start asking those kinds of questions. You know, so it isn't a good thing for you to live here and angry and hostile and bitter all the time. It's a good thing to be aware. And it is a good thing to live in this superficial place because, you know, you're multidimensional as a human being. You should exist in all of these different places. The problem is when we get so hyper-focused in existing in only one of these things, only two of these things. So if you exist down here, you can miss some really obvious things in life. So the clown comes out and tells the crowd, "The place is on fire!" An amazing performance. This is so good. Yes, exactly. Golf clap. He's so funny. Don't you understand why he's so funny? No, I'm being really damn serious, guys. The place is on fire. Isn't humanity on fire? That's what he's saying. No, I'm just saying that the place really is on fire and you're going to die. Then but aren't we all dying? Really, this is what he's saying, right? In other words, you can get so caught up in trying to find those things that you only live at the one level. You're incapable of living at other levels. It's like, should you watch, I don't know, should you watch cheesy 80s movies or should you read philosophy? Yeah. Yes. Should you be an intellect or should you be a fighter? Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so. That doesn't mean everybody has to go out there and start boxing and like that, but my goodness, what's the point in having an idea if you can't defend yourself against it? It doesn't mean, of course, it doesn't mean you have to go out there and kick the shit out of everybody you meet. That's ridiculous. What I'm saying is that it just gives you one more level of confidence in yourself. Have you ever heard of the Renaissance person? You've heard this phrase before, someone's a Renaissance man? This is where it comes from. It's the idea that you're an intellect and you're an athlete, and it doesn't mean you're the best athlete, but my goodness, there's a difference between, like, you know, being a world-class soccer player and being a person who sits on the sidelines and goes, I don't even want to try. Folded arms, feet pressed against each other. I don't want to try. I don't want to do any of that. Nothing athletic. Okay, but then you never get to develop, you never get to fully develop yourself. You don't get to be all of what you could have been. You know, your mind and your body. Don't you have a responsibility to develop both? You're a human with different dimensions to yourself. Don't you have a responsibility to yourself to develop all of them? In fact, I guess a better way to ask it is, if you had children, would you want your children to develop all of these? Or would you tell your children, don't worry about those deeper parts of yourself, ignore them? Would you want to tell your children, don't ignore the simple things of life? You know, don't eat nachos, only eat filet mignon, or whatever the hell they eat. You know, you're all of these things. So you should be all of these things, probably, because you are all of these things. Not that you should make yourself into all of these things, but you already are all of these things. The only thing that stops you from being all of these things is when we deny ourselves these things. When we intentionally set ourselves out to suppress who we really are. And again, that doesn't mean you have to become a world-class athlete. You don't have to spend 20 hours a week in the gym. It just means that, my God, you should be able to lift a box, right? You should be able to jog a mile at some point, you know? And it's only our intellectual refusal to acknowledge these things of ourselves that stops us from doing it. You know, these walls we build, we're capable of so much more. So you gotta listen to the clown. He's telling you the truth. He's telling you something funny, yes, but he's also telling you something deep. But just because something is funny doesn't mean it's not deep. And just because something is deep doesn't mean it's not funny. Wisdom is being able to recognize the different facets in all of these things. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Yeah, I suppose so. Happy Tuesday, happy-ish Tuesday, I suppose. Friday, Thursday, damn it, it's Tuesday.